Hello everybody, back for another one. Some of you may know, I did a year-long drawing challenge in 2022. I had to draw something school-related every day and post it on Instagram. And that I did. Every single day, I drew skulls and posted them. People would often ask me if I was struggling to draw every day. And while it was somewhat inconvenient, it wasn't really that hard. What was truly kicking my ass, however, was thinking of something to draw every single day. The act of drawing was somewhat mechanical, but the creativity behind it was something that often made me feel like a dried-out dairy cow. That's why I think the term art block is somewhat misguided. I understand and somewhat believe in the idea of creative burnout, but art block, not as much. Because you can just sit down and do studies, and that counts as drawing or painting, while being very light, if not completely detached from your creative juices. Now, the act of weaving ideas together is a little bit more complicated. It takes a little more, or a lot more even. But, as necessity is the mother of invention, that was prime ground for me to learn to tame my creativity better. And that's how my skeleton comics were born. I'm probably going to make a whole video where I go more in depth about the drawing challenge, but I just needed to mention it because that's where these comics were born. I've always been fond of comics, and I used to have one of those autobiography comics. I'm sure there's an actual term for them out there, but I bet you know what I'm talking about. Those comics where you draw yourself, mostly in situations based on things that actually happened. While that comic scratched my making comics itch, the style didn't quite resonate with me. Everyone still loves those, and I'll make one here and there just to make him happy, but they're not something I actively pursue anymore. I even made myself a challenge of drawing one of those every day for 30 days back in 2016. I think you can tell by now I like these challenges. A little bit. I tried tweaking the style a bit to make myself like them more a few years later, adding these little skull heads. But there was still something missing. I'm not a huge fan of designs with huge heads, and I probably went with those because I used to read a lot of Cyanide and Happiness back when I was in middle school, probably mixed with the eye shapes of American Dad and Family Guy. It was just something easy I could draw without a lot of drama. But at the same time, it ended up being something that didn't stimulate me a whole lot when I looked at it. There was something missing. So, back on track on the school drawing challenge, I think it was about July when I started getting really tired of what I was doing. For the first half of the year, I was doing this sort of checkered pattern on my Instagram feed, where I tried to alternate between red and black and white designs. But at some point, I just got sick of it. I started doing some really simple, just traditional drawings, very low effort, just to keep up with the challenge. That's my trick for challenges, by the way. I don't have a high standard for anything I post during a challenge because then I know that when those low energy days inevitably hit, I'll still be able to keep up. After that checkered standard fell, I started to slowly explore other things. And the little word balloons started popping up here and there. And then the challenge went back to being more manageable because I was now entertaining myself with those drawings. I wasn't really running that marathon for anybody else. Other than a few loyal people here and there, most people didn't care what I was doing. As they should, why would they care about my challenge anyways? So what else would I do other than try to entertain myself? August ended up being a month full of those little one-panel comics, and those comics defined the second half of the year. The style was pretty wonky, the drawings were mostly crap, but if that's all I could do at that pace with my then current abilities, at the very least, the words should entertain me. I almost always see those skeletons as dudes. Sometimes I made them girls. There are a few like that, but mostly the skeletons are guys in my head. So when I was adding girls to my comics, I started making them demon girls. And that consolidated a stylistic preference of mine. By November, I'd often make the drawings about this one skeleton and his demon girlfriend. I ended up calling it Demonia and Boners. Demonia is just how you say female demon in Portuguese, which is my native language. And you can figure out boners. Haha, boner, erection, hee hee, hoo hoo. By November, I also had consolidated this black and white look because beforehand, I tried all sorts of abstract backgrounds, first on white, then on some textures on black. But then I just started digging that very simple, bold, black and white look which I was doing the illustrations earlier in the year. Another reason why those comics were flowing nicely out of me is because I love surreal humor. It all started, as far as I can remember, with Douglas Adams, and later on I found out about Monty Python and that both the Pythons and Douglas Adams work together sometimes, which explains a lot of their similarities. During the year of the challenge, I spent a lot of time watching Monty Python's Flying Circus, so my love for that type of humor was way in the front of my mind. I also think that because you don't necessarily have that classic setup punchline routine on something that's meant to be nonsensical, it comes out easier for me. All I have to do is think of something absurd, see if it hits me in the funny bone, and voila. Now, we still have the problem of the constant moving machine of drawing every day, right? I had heard of some techniques for writing from some books I read, one of which was putting on an uninterrupted stream of consciousness onto a page, and then pick at the pieces to see if something sticks. Sometimes I do that, but what came to be my favorite way to come up with those ideas was to use a random word generator. In fact, a lot of monthly drawing challenges use the one prompt format. That's probably just a modern take on opening a dictionary to a random word. By the way, when you were a kid in school, did you go look up words like sex on the dictionary and hee hee hoo hoo? I did. But anyways, the way I'll do it is I'll Google a random word generator, write down those words, and see if any of them make the idea churn in my head. At that time, I think I was trying to force every single word to work, but lately I give a bit of leeway, and if a word doesn't stick for real, even if I try, I just move on. A variation on that, which I also liked when I used it, and I used it for my Halloween designs, is to have 2 columns of maybe 10 to 20 words each, then try to relate column A to column B. That way you have 2 words for prompts. Just like, let's say, in column A you have spider, column B you have party, so you make like a spider party or something. More constraint, more creativity. And that's one of the reasons also why I did a skull-related drawing challenge. Because I thought, like, if I just said draw something every day, it would be even harder to come up with something to draw every day. Constraint really helps. I then started noticing people other than just me seem to be enjoying those comics. I think I was a little better at putting a story into my pictures when I included literal words in there. There are illustrators who do that with just pictures, just perfectly, but me, not so much. The words helped, and those ended up engaging folks a little more. Now, mind you, it's not like anything that I did really exploded, but I get some folks telling me that they were looking at my stuff and enjoying it. And when someone goes out of their way to tell you something like that, it can mean a lot. It was always encouraging and appreciated. Recently, I've even been experimenting with compiling some of those comics into little physical books, and that's so much fun. Since most of them are digital, except for the ones I did in Inktober to double whammy 2 challenges together, to see them in physical form feels pretty nice. I've been very into digital media for many years, mostly because I was in a time in my life when I was moving around a lot and lugging things around tends to make you want to have less things. But now that I've been settled for a while, I've been slowly going back to appreciating physical media again. I still don't like that they tend to mold where I live though. So many of my old sketchbooks look really nasty now, but it's nice to get to hold something in your hands. I now have pages and pages of ideas for some of those comics, so if you were one of the people who happened to enjoy them, I hope you will enjoy them again. Now that I'm doing some videos too, those will probably be filmed and posted here. But it looks like we're getting to the end of the footage, so folks, thank you so much for joining me today. If you like the channel and would like to help out, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe, it's really appreciated and I thank you so much. And I'll see you next time.